Good morning. Again, we didn't play as clean a football game as we were hoping for, but we were fortunate enough to come out with a win and to get immediate feedback of where we are as a football team. And what you put on tape is what you are, but we have some glaring things we need to get fixed right away. I think it starts from the offensive side of the ball. We have to be able to maintain blocks and sustain blocks. And that's just the offensive line. That's our receivers. That's our tight ends, everyone involved. And at times, the quarterback didn't have time to throw the ball. He was back there with a lot of pressure. And then when we did have time, he wasn't setting his feet and pushing the ball down the field. But at this point, we're 4 of 13 on third downs. We're 3 of 3 on fourth downs, which all of those conversions resulted in touchdowns. So as you look through, that's what we'll be doing most of the season, because I do believe touchdown wins football games. The defense created 3 turnovers, which was big for us. All 3 turnovers, we capitalized that as an offense with 3 touchdowns. We adjusted well their exotic formations, but we didn't tackle very well. We had 20 missed tackles throughout the game. Didn't play our best effort on defense. We were 59% on third down, which we need to be closer to 75, 80%. But we have a lot of work cut out for us this week as we go to Chapel Hill and play a very good North Carolina football team. This, in my opinion, is the best team that Coach Brown has had since his tenure there, since 2019. You look at their team, they're a very heavy graduate and senior base on offense. They have who I think is the #1 quarterback in the country, Heisman candidate, and then probably the first quarterback picked in the NFL draft in Drake May. A very good offensive line. I mentioned earlier there's 2 graduates, 3 seniors on the offensive line. Great receiving core. The running backs are big and get downhill. Then you watch their defense. We watched the South Carolina game last night, and total they had South Carolina -2 yards rushing when you divvy up the sacks. Several tackles for losses they had, 9 quarterback sacks. So Coach Chiswick has those guys playing at a high level, and we look forward to a great week of practice until we get down to Chapel Hill on Saturday at 5:15.
David Ware, 24/7 Sports. Shawn, were there any significant milestones that maybe jumped out at you on film after you had a chance to watch it that you weren't able to pick up at field level?
Well, no, things we had to adjust for throughout the game. How we played too soft at the corner position, and they're throwing a little quick screen or a now screen, and that's 4 or 5 yards a pop. And I think Coach Sloan and his staff did a great job of doing some adjustments in the fourth quarter. You look at the first and fourth quarter, they didn't score any points, but the second and third is really took advantage of us as far as the defense goes. On offense, early on we couldn't push the ball down the field, and that was evident. And they did a really good job of making us one-dimensional. But overall, we did a lot of good things, and our players were disappointed after the game. It was like very quiet in the locker room, which I don't understand, because winning is hard in college football, and we're going to celebrate our victories. We have a 24-hour rule around here that either way it goes, you have 24 hours to get your mind right and get back to practice. I think our kids did that. We had a really good spirited practice yesterday. They were able to get some good teamwork in, some 2-minute drill, individual, and start working on North Carolina.
Looking at things on the offensive side of the ball, any updates that you can give us on the quarterback situation right now?
Yeah, Ryan Berger will be out probably 3 to 4 weeks. We'll tell you when he's ready to come back. But right now, Joey Aguilar is our quarterback. Ryan met with the doctors after the game on Saturday and Sunday morning. He'll be out for 3 to 4 weeks.
Looking at some of the lineup stuff that went on Saturday, you had Jack Murphy and Markel Samuel rotating throughout the game. Tell us a little bit about the choices that have been made there.
Well, Jack, he won the position through fall camp. Each person on our team had to earn his way on our team. You have to earn your way as a starting spot, and Jack solidified that throughout fall camp. Markel has to play more. We need more out of Markel, and we've talked to him about that. He has a lot of athletic ability, but he has to put it on the practice field. And again, he had a great day yesterday. I think he played 9 or 10 plays on Saturday. We need him to play at least 30 to 40 plays throughout a game. He's very important to us, but he has to make that decision himself to be a great player.
On the defensive side of the ball, after you guys kind of got them in a situation that was really turnover-based, where they had to start pushing the ball down the field and kind of give up on that perimeter screen game, the pass rush really started to take hold. You had 9 quarterback hurries, 6 out of the defensive end group, and Obviously, both of the interceptions were pass rush induced. Talk a little bit about the enhancements that you've seen there, because I know that was an off-season focus.
Yeah, it was a big focus for us to establish a pass rush, our defensive line. You look at early on the game, he's getting rid of the ball between 1.7 and 2.5 seconds. It's hard to get a pass rush that quick, Then toward the end of the game, we really set back and take a 5-step drop and push the ball in the field. Our rush was able to get there. You look at Mike. I think Mike Fletcher had a great game getting to the quarterback. You look at Sean Collins, DeAndre Dingle Prince was there, but again, whenever we got to the quarterback, I think it helps on the back end. You can't cover someone for 3 or 4 seconds and expect to have good things. But the quick game, we have to rally the football. We're not going to get there as a defensive line in 1.7 seconds or 2 seconds. So we had to rally the football, one guy wrap up, and the rest of the team get there to help with the tackle.
Coach, when you talk about missed tackles in week 1, I assume that's normally a pretty standard week 1 to week 2 area of improvement. Did you see things that kind of give you confidence that you can be sharper in that area week 2, or were there other things that jumped out at you?
No, that's week 1. I think the rules, the way the NCAA is right now, you can't tackle that much throughout fall camp, so you have to try to find ways to work your tackling circuit throughout practice. But there's a difference between drills and live tackling. And I think if you look at college football as a whole, I think the quality of tackling is down tremendously over everyone in Division I football. But we have to improve in that standpoint. Our kids know that. Our coaches know that. That was a point of emphasis yesterday, and our practice was tackling. And I have a full confidence in our staff and our players that we'll get that corrected this week.
With the clock rules changes, did you notice anything significant? Did it feel any different with how that kind of operated Saturday?
No, the clock rules are the clock rules. We were fortunate to have 2 scrimmages in August that kind of gave us an idea of what it would be like. But again, you're in the heat of the battle. You don't really recognize. I think we had 69 plays, 70 plays, I believe. So maybe down a few plays, but everyone's playing by the same rules, so we can't complain about it too much.
You mentioned watching North Carolina, South Carolina this weekend. Not a lot of cuteness to that North Carolina offense. They kind of took it straight at South Carolina. How much does Chip Lindsey being there maybe give you a little bit of added knowledge since you've seen his offensive schemes before?
Well, I have a lot of respect for Chip. Chip's a good friend of mine. We know what kind of play caller he is. When he was at Troy, sometimes he don't have the right personnel to run the way he wants to run. But I just know that they're a different football team on offense and defense. You look at they run the football. They ran it down South Carolina's throat many a times, and they play physical up front. And again, they're not doing as many RPOs. They're handing the football off, their play actions, and they have a quarterback can throw from hash to hash and hash to numbers. So you have to defend the whole field, and when you do that, and when you can't make a team one-dimensional, that's going to be tough for us on Saturday.
Does playing an offense like Gardner-Webb's with all the movement, the shifts, the different alignments, a lot of the backside stuff they did, really forced your guys to think in terms of 52 yards from sideline to sideline? Not that North Carolina is a simple offense, but does all the complexity that your guys had to prepare for last week maybe help them zero in a little more on an offense that doesn't do quite as much pre-snap?
In some ways, we knew we did a 10-game study on Gardner-Webb throughout the summer, and I think it was play 2. They ran the old polecat play with the offensive line to the left, the jet motion, and you have to get lined up to those things. And the formations they give you, the unbalance, the shifts, the motions, you have to think. And for the most part, I think we were lined up the right way as a defense. But you look at North Carolina, this is not going to be their trick play is going to be outside zone, inside zone. So that's their trick play. And then their quarterback, he's elite. I mean, you look at this tape and what an improvement. He was really good last year. We didn't know how good he was till he got here. He can really hurt you with his feet. He has a rifle for an arm, and he has improved from last year. And I think anytime you have the weapons around him, the offensive line that they have, who's an experienced group, stable of running backs, tight ends, and dynamic receivers. So you have to be able to cover the whole field against them, because with Chip, he's going to find out where you're weak and take advantage of that.
when you guys went down there in 2019 and won that game, obviously everything has pretty much changed, or at least a lot of it has since then, but there were some key things you accomplished that day that allowed you to win that game. How much do you go back and kind of look at, hey, the importance of the running game, the factor that turnovers played, all those things that were critical to you winning there last time, and try to make sure that the guys understand that and you're emphasizing it as you go down there this week?
I think it goes back to Coach Brown and what he's been able to establish there. He just set a record Saturday night, winning 100 games at 2 different institutions. That's a record that'll never be broken in modern day football. But we're going to have to be able to sustain drives and keep the ball away from North Carolina. Anytime that Drake May has the ball in his hands, they have a chance to score a touchdown. So we've looked at a few of those just as far as the game management part of it. But again, we have to go out and play our football. And if we can't run the football and they make us one-dimensional, then it's going to be a long day. But I have a lot of confidence in our receivers, our quarterbacks, that they can get the job done. But we'll be able to be multi-dimensional as we go on for Chapel to play North Carolina this week in Chapel Hill.
Just last one, you thank the fans and the students after Saturday's game. When you're on the sideline, certainly you're focused, but can you feel the energy? Does that have an impact on you and the team on the sideline? It
does. It's big in everything we do. I was reading after the game on Saturday, it was 36,000 fans, the second largest crowd at Kidd Brewer Stadium, and it means everything. And again, I want to thank the students for coming out. The whole bottom section was packed. The tailgating was walking through campus Saturday morning and walking through the Mountaineer Walk. There was electric in the air, and that matters in recruiting. That matters in your game day experience. But I can't be more thankful for all of that nation, how they showed up and gave us the winning edge. But I know we'll travel well to North Carolina this week. I know when we come back to play East Carolina that it's going to be electric again. So again, thank you to the students, thank you to the fans. That was a world-class experience for a lot of people that were involved this weekend.